supporting and training military in Iraq, Afghanistan, and beautiful Kosovo. So let's jump right back in here with some of our information where we're at. We're up to Module 18 for PA Motor Vehicle Safety Inspection Training. Again, recertification. This is great information for you to retake your certification test, which is good for 5 years through the PA training portal, or for your initial certification, which you'll take at a vocational school or a technical school in Pennsylvania, that's good for 3 years. So let us begin. We're in publication 45. So right now, publication 45, the current edition is 11 of 17. That'll be our reference material. We're in subchapter E. So I'm going to start out on page 36, which is in the back half of the subchapter, which is for the inspection procedure, which is very important. Everything we deal with as inspection mechanics has to do with the inspection procedure section. Okay, so some of the information I'm going to be using today, I got publication 645, which is the newest 12 of 18 edition. This is the Enhanced Vehicle Safety Inspection Manual. We're going to be looking at some bulletins here. Bulletins are great information. They go all the way back to the early 80s. Real world information. The Department of Motor Vehicle website has lots of bulletins going back to 2000. Reach out to me if you need the older ones. So I got bulletins of May 2011, January 98, April 99, and a good one from May of 92. So today we're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about fenders, hood, trunks, and doors. I'll chunk them into one. Floors and bumpers. So let's jump right in here. I talked about doors on my last section, so I need to clarify something for doors. If a vehicle came with a door, it needs to be equipped with a door. So it has to open and close securely, which means if you remove a door, it will not pass inspection. For example, Jeeps. The last year that Jeep made a removable door was 1986. So anything 86 and newer, sure, you can take them off. The hinges are exposed. Very easy to remove. There's legislation now that's being pushed. They're trying to push House bills through the legislature in PA so that Jeep doors, removing a Jeep door is legal. But for now, it's not. So if you inspect a Jeep and it has a door removed, boom, fail it. It does not pass. So once they leave, they're on their own. The police can cite them however they want. But for inspection, the door's got to be on the Jeep as equipped or stronger. So if they put a zip tie door on or some type of removable door on there, guess what? That didn't come equipped with that Jeep. Now, if it's a Jeep package that comes with a frame and everything, sure. But just to go ahead and remove a door, no good. So let's jump into fenders. The inspection regulations reads, again on page 38, to reject if a fender front or rear has been removed. Well, guess what? That's an inner fender too. So if you have an inner fender that's removed from a vehicle, it's the same as having an outer fender removed. Reject it. Let's talk about spoilers. If a vehicle has a large spoiler placed on the back. Sure, it's an addition of a major component. The problem is you can't drive the car in reverse. So I'd fail it during a road test. You can't see it. It's obstructing the view of the rear mirror. So I'd reject it. So if an aftermarket spoiler is prohibiting you from doing the road test or from viewing out the back of the vehicle because of the size of this, reject it. Hood scoops. Let's talk about hood scoops for a second. We don't see them like I did back in high school. There's not too many superchargers rolling around on small block Chevys. But if you look at a picture of a truck here, identified by the clearance lines on the top, if you take the largest portion of the dash and put a straight line 2 inches above that, that's the area that the hood scoop cannot encroach upon. So this one failed. So if we drew a taped line across the windshield, 2 inches above the most exposed or highest part of the dash, okay? Or if there's no dash, the lowest part of the windshield, that hood scoop can't be 2 inches above there. So this one right here on this beautiful half-ton truck with some clearance lamps for the purpose of subchapter E would fail. Okay? Very good. Same thing with an exposed hood. So if the hood has a cut through it and has two hollies sticking through it or a supercharger, reject it. You can't have the hood exposing any part of the engine. The hood scoop's legal. Just remember the height. So let's keep going here. We'll talk about fender flares. Fender flares are legal. So let's look at a fender flare. We have a tire and we have a fender. Well, on this one, the exposed tread comes past the fender. So it fails. Now they add a fender flare. As long as the fender flare is not more than 3 inches, it passes. So in this case, we put a 3-inch flare on. The tire tread is inside. It's pretty close, but it's inside. It's real simple. What you need to do is go on alongside the tire with a straight edge. As long as the tread doesn't come up over into the fender flare on the outside of it, you're good. Okay? Real important stuff here. Mainly to do with Jeeps. Flooring. We have a bulletin here going all the way back to May of 2011. Talks about floor. It says the following will be cause for rejection. Rust that permits exhaust fumes to enter the passenger or cargo compartment, protruding metal. Okay, so if the floor is rusted, if it can't support the cargo, so the bed or the interior, reject it. Real simple. Let's keep going down here. We're going to talk about bumpers for a little bit. Let's talk about bumpers. When you measure a bumper height, there's 2 measurements that you need to be concerned with. The first one is 16 to 20 inches. So from the ground up, 16 to 20, some portion of that 16 to 20, the horizontal area of the bumper has to come through that area for passenger car. Light truck, which subchapter E deals with. Subchapter E is light trucks 11,000 pounds or less. Or multi-purpose passenger. And remember, multi-purpose passengers could be over 11,000 pounds. But the heavy truck uses the 16 to 30, the medium and the heavy. So just remember those 2 numbers, 11 to 20 inches and 16 to 30. That's for measuring your bumpers. So, if you go up to Columbia County, the Bloomsburg Fair, you get to see a lot of homemade bumpers. You could use a homemade bumper. But what you cannot do is remove a bumper. So let me read something here from January 98. For the purpose of inspection, is a pickup truck required to have a bumper in both the front and rear? So, subchapter E, pickup trucks 11,000 GVW or less. The answer is yes. A vehicle would be rejected for inspection for not having a bumper if it's required as original equipment. There you go. Some didn't have that. Some vehicles didn't have it. It was an option, rare. You'd probably want to prove it to the inspection station or, like I said, to the police. So some vehicles didn't come equipped with a rear bumper. It was rare, but those pickup trucks are still out there. Okay? Now, for the purpose of street rods, when you inspect the street rod using subchapter E, okay, because it's probably going to have a registered as a passenger car street rod, not a truck. So what you need to be concerned with is not only do you have to follow subchapter E, but you need to add in the inspection procedure for subchapter K. Okay, this isn't the beginning of K with the equipment requirements for when you're doing the 426 application. These are the other inspectable procedures for when you inspect a street rod, especially constructed like a dune buggy or reconstructed. So I want to read you something here out of publication 645. Has to do with street rods, because again, you could be inspecting a street rod using subchapter E. Street rods are not required to be equipped with bumpers, fenders, or engine coverage as originally manufactured. If the hood, top and or sides is removed from the vehicle, the engine fan must be enclosed with a shroud designed to protect the fan from accidental contact with somebody's hand. So, there it is, black and white. It's right out of publication 645, dated 12/18. So, as I'm reading bulletins here, let me just go back and read one more to you. This is all the way back to May of 92. And again, it has to do with tires extended beyond the body line. It could be corrected by installing tires that have tread that stay within the wheel wells. No kidding. Or adding a fender flare that does not exceed 3 inches. So great information. There's a bulletin all the way back to May of 92. And I think I have one more here for you on our beautiful day down here in Adams County, Pennsylvania. We talked about the fenders, the trunk, the hood, the doors on the Jeep. Talked about rusted floors, bumper heights. Oh, like I said, if you happen to get up to any of the fairs, the four-wheel jamborees, what they'll do is they'll remove their bumper on the truck. So when they remove the bumper, what they'll do is they'll install a bumper of the same length, but it's a round cylinder and it's capped on both sides. And it has a little Schrader valve on one end and a hose on the other. So what they'll do is they'll use that as a charge tank, an air tank. So in case they get a flat somewhere and they got to pop a tire back up, hopefully they could seat it with starting fluid or something. But now they have a whole tank full of air as a front bumper. Is it legal? Well, of course it's legal, because you could replace a bumper as long as it's of a stronger material. Okay? But it can't be wider than the outside edge of the truck. So the important thing to remember is when you're doing that on that pickup truck, 16 to 30. Some part of the horizontal bar has to fall within that 16 to 30 inch range, measured from the ground up. And last but not least, wanted to talk about one other thing here. Trunk lid. Well, we'll end on one thing, a trunk lid. Trunk lids have to close. So when you do an inspection, the last thing you want to do is open the trunk. As long as it stays closed, you're fine. But what you do need to do is you need to look underneath the vehicle. Make sure the underneath of the trunk is not rusted to the point where exhaust fumes could come into the vehicle. So really there should be no reason to go inside someone's trunk for an inspection unless you're looking to see if the floor can't support the cargo or if exhaust could come in. So remember that. You may run into that down the road. So to recap on everything we just covered today for Subchapter E, Module 18 on Serious Auto Training, we talked about fenders, hoods, trunks, doors. Remember, Jeeps gotta have doors on for this month. Maybe the Montgomery County House Representative will push it through for us, but right now, if it came with a door, 86 and newer needs a door. Inner fender, it's the same as an outer fender. Spoilers, they can't be too big where you can't see. Hood scoops, we went over the 2-inch rule, so 2 inch over the dash or the lowest part of the windshield. We talked about fender flares, 3 inch. 3 inch max on a fender flare. Okay, so if a vehicle does have fender flares and it's 2 inches, you can't add a 5-inch one and have it legal. 3 inches is the max. Flooring, make sure it's not rusted, supports the cargo. Bumper heights, we talked about all our bulletins here. Again, my name's Terry Rooch. This is Serious Automotive Training. Any questions for me? SeriousAutoTraining@yahoo.com. Follow me on LinkedIn or give me a shout out on YouTube. Again, have a great day.